Welcome everyone to episode 2 here of our Borussia Dortmund Recreation 2012-2013. Now we're going to get straight into our transfers. Now brace yourselves, there's been a few risky transfers, is that the right word? Risky? Like we learned in our Barcelona save, we are not financial advisors. If they give us the money to spend, we can only assume that it's correct and we're going to spend it, right? That's how it works. Well, the first thing to know is technically this football club has made money this season. We've spent 179 million, we've sold 205. Now, the only downside to that is it was a lot different than that at the start of the save. I think you start off like, 70 million more sold. So we've not spent that much in hindsight, really, I suppose. Not too much, but yeah, you can see the players out here. I've given away the first transfer with that there. I can't help but show that, but, that's just the way that this section works. Players out there, yes. You can see here a lot of players have gone out for a lot of good money. The only real noticeable one that's probably could easily have been a starting player is Emre Can. Emre Can, like you just said, it was the only problem wasn't really is he good enough. It was could we get a decent offer for him? It was 29 million, pretty much all up front. So having that 100% of that to spend on the players, I was able to get 2 players with that money. His direct replacement in the squad, you'll see in a second. Then he gave it away. Cost about that much, but not all up front. So, and the club's okay financially, so don't need to worry about saving it with paying everybody else up front for now. We'll see. But yeah, no, you can see really there's pretty much, I think reasonable. Maybe Guerrero's the only one for quite a low amount of money, but we got his replacement for less than half of that. So that's what I mean. Some good transfers, I think, there. But I guess you'll be the judge of that. So I thought first thing we're going to do in this save, first thing straight away is we're going to go to buy and take a player off them. Just set the marker down straight away. Let them know exactly where we stand with them. We're the big dog in this town now. There is no Bayern Munich anywhere. Borussia Dortmund is the new name. And funny enough, we'll talk about them in a second. But yeah, so we took Musiala off them, the best player in the world in 3 years, along with Jude Bellingham. I love Musiala. I think every FM, there's always 1 or 2 players that you sort of associate with because you always bought them on saves, or they were always great for you, or they're always just great generally in your saves. Musiala and Bellingham are definitely the 2, but in particular Musiala. In my Nottingham Forest save that I play off camera, my own personal save, he is just world class. He can play as a 10, central field, on the wing. He's just world class everywhere. He's one of the few players I've seen that can get that good. Like, he's got 17 acceleration, 17 pace for me. Agility's there, finishing's there, passing's there. He's just unbelievable. So I wanted to take him off them straight away, just set the marker down. Now, for some unknown reason, they sold him to us. Now, I don't know whether that's because he wanted to leave because he wasn't going to get the game time, or he thought he wasn't going to get game time. I don't know why, but they let him go, and he's now Borussia Dortmund's best player. So, in he comes, Jamal Musiala. Welcome to Borussia Dortmund. We've paid 30 million or 28 million. They might get a bit of the next sale going towards them, but our second signing here is Jerry St. Just. Now, he's come in to be our right back for £6.5 million, very cheap. He's going to be our either first choice right back or backup centre back. He can do sort of both roles. I thought he was a very good player. Now, this is the difference, right? Just one thing to consider with the Barcelona save to this save. With Barcelona, we had a clear idea in our head of exactly what team we were recreating, and we could buy any player in the world to fit into that team. So if we wanted to go and get the next Messi, which we used as Haaland, we could just go and do that. With Borussia Dortmund, we can't quite go and do that, right? So we've got to be clever who we buy to still be successful as a team. So it's not just a case of playing as Barcelona and going, we want to recreate, Xavi, let's go get the next Xavi, just buy whoever we like. We're restricted financially to the players that we can get, and also reputation as well. So he was a player that came in that I didn't really have a particular player in my head of who would recreate, but he was just a utility player that could do either role. He's a bit more defensive, a bit bigger, a bit more of a... Do you know what? I suppose Piszczek, even at his prime on FM, wasn't far off that. Just for a really typical Borussia Dortmund kind of signing note, like a really up-and-coming player that they signed for really cheap, and everybody's like, how do they do that? That's us right there. Renan Lodi is our left back. He joins us for £7 million. He's now worth 37, and he replaces Guerrero. And as you can see, he's not quite as good technically, but he's not far off. He's got dribbling, passing himself. He's got a bit of vision, and he's quick. Costs us half the money. He's on half the wages. Typical Borussia Dortmund signing, yeah, again. So, very happy with that. Bissouma. Now, you've got to think in your head DNA of the club. When you think of that Jurgen Klopp Borussia Dortmund team, what do you think of? I think you think of pressing, stamina, intensity, work rate, determination. Intensity, I think, is the biggest one of them all, and he just fits all of that. Now, there is no attribute for intensity, but when you take anticipation, aggression, work rate, all those things sort of come into intensity, don't they? Pace and acceleration makes it even better. Stamina is there, strength is there. So I think if you were to think of a prototype midfielder in your head of what a Jurgen Klopp Dortmund midfielder would look like, this is it right here. So he's like what Bellingham's going to look like in about a year's time. And yeah, he's just brilliant, isn't he? Bissouma's like what Musiala and Bellingham become and then surpass. But right now, he's probably just as good as them for this one season. And then Bissouma will stay as he is. His stats don't really change too much, and theirs will just shoot up. So he comes in, can play as our more box-to-box Gundogan role or our Sven Bender role. He's a bit more dynamic than Sven Bender, but if you look, don't take his pace like for granted that he's just a dynamic player that just runs around, does a bit of stuff. He's actually really good defensively, Bissouma in Foot Manager. Concentration 15, that's a very good standard of attribute. Positioning 16, tackling 17, like he's a brilliant defensive midfield player, but he's also a brilliant player in terms of passing, acceleration. He's just got everything. He can be your sitter if you want him to. He can be your box-to-boxer. He can do everything. Probably couldn't be a striker because he can't finish. Apart from that, he can do pretty much everything else. So, Bissouma comes in for £17.5 million. Again, Brighton might get a bit of a kickback if we sell him. Who knows? It's not our job. It's not a problem, is it? It's not a problem. That's why they hire a financial advisor. Jerome comes in, backup winger. That is pretty much it. His value's gone way up already, signing for 14 million. Probably didn't need him in the end because I signed somebody else, but I didn't think I was going to get them. And that player was Alan St-Maximin. Now, Blaž Vikolsky was an absolute pace merchant. You think back to FIFA 13, from 2013, he was just pace, acceleration, dribbling, and just had all of those in abundance. And that is exactly what this guy is. So he was somebody I did try to think of a winger, because the role that I'm going to use is inverted winger. We'll go through the tactic in a second. But I wanted somebody that was like that had at least the ability to be like an old school winger that was just going to beat players on the outside, run and be creative and be a bit more off the cuff. And with his acceleration, his dribbling, which we know does well in the match engine, plus his dribbling and his flair, he just fit the bill really well. £2.5 million. Newcastle get a kickback, standard. And yeah, happy with that. Back at left back, Chimikas, cost us 10 million. Yep. I didn't want to sign everybody with loads of pace, you know what I mean? Like, I had to try and keep it realistic here, so 15 and 15, we'll take that. Backup goalkeeper, Swallow. Yep, comes in backup keeper. A wider homegrown keeper for the registration rules, although we've got a lot of homegrowners anyway. And he's got a good personality, didn't cost too much money, and yeah, welcome to the club. Last but not least, we have Baku. Now, Baku comes in to be our starting right back, an excellent player, very good mentally. Now, he reminds me of a proper Dortmund kind of player. He's not overly quick. He is decently quick, but he's got great work rate, great stamina, great natural fitness. You know, work rate. He's just got everything that you want in a Dortmund player. You know, he is Dortmund. You've got him and Bissouma in particular are two players that are like prototype. Then so they're like prototype, I guess, Dortmund DNA players. Then St-Maximin is your recreation player, like he's specifically to recreate a certain player. And some other players are bits and pieces to just try and make, us be able to compete in the save. So that's what I'd say he is, and that's going to conclude our transfers. That's technically 9 players in that we've signed, but really it's 8 because one of them is a backup goalkeeper. I don't know if we can count that, but 9 in total, sold a load of players. The biggest movement in the staff was a couple of legends here. We've got a new gen assistant manager. I don't know if you've noticed, but I always like to get a new gen assistant manager because it's just, I don't know, I've always preferred it that way for a lot of the saves. And Dominic Meyer comes in, legend. We brought in one of the old enemy, Miroslav Klose at Bayern Munich. I don't know if legend is the right word. He was there for a few years. Kaiserslautern legend. Miroslav Klose comes in, professional personality, coaches the attackers, and gives a bit of inside information to Bayern, as he was a coach there for a few years recently. So, and the German national coach. So, Miroslav comes in. What a player he was. My proudest signing is Antero Henrique. Now, you're going to say, who the is that? Now, that was he was the director of football at Porto for a number of years. And just past Mourinho, I'm not sure if he was there before 2005, that might be when he started, but I do know that he was there for a number of years post Mourinho. So when they went through that period of about 10 years where they just ended up getting all these next best things and just continued to bring in unbelievably good South American players in particular, well, not in particular, but that seems to be the main source of player. And they'd end up selling them on for vast amounts of money. Both Porto and Benfica have done amazing with the recruitment. He was at PSG apparently for a couple of years, but I saw he was here. I know worked with Villas-Boas, or I believe he did, worked with Andrew Villas-Boas, while they had their undefeated season. So Antero Henrique comes in as our director of football. Right, so first game of the season, that's it. You bang up to date. That's the save so far. I'm not going to sell anybody else, I don't think. We've got a pretty big squad, because you've got players like Schmelzer, who's just a statue. He's just there to be looked at every day, and people lay flowers well, he's not dead, so I guess they won't lay flowers, but they celebrate him. Mats Hummels and the statues just celebrated for the great man that he is. Long-term injury, as I could do. And you've got players like Wolf, like utility player, good Dortmund player, stamina, natural fitness, work rate, lacking technicals, pretty standard across the board, that is. Gross Krauts right there. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, there's a couple of those knocking around. You've also got Felix Paslak. He's just another one who's just a utility player there for emergencies. I could probably get rid of both of them and survive, but we'll just keep them for now. The first team would normally include Pong. Here we go. Marin would normally be in the first 11, left centre back probably, next to Akanji. So that's going to be the first choice central defensive partnership. But because of the injury there, we're going to go with St. Just in the centre back for this game. Now, is that enough centre backs then? I guess Zagadou better be good. Now, I'm going to trust the FM community here because everybody seems to rate Zagadou, and I don't. I've never really used him, maybe once, and he just cries out to me the kind of player that you sell for a load of money, get somebody who's not as calamitous with agility. But I'm going to use him this season, and it might cost us, but I'm going to trust the FM community. Leave me your thoughts down below what you think about that, but land screen right here, I can see it. Luckily, he's out for a while, so it ain't going to cost us too early. Yeah, Mukoko is on the bench. He's going to be our backup to Haaland. Hopefully Haaland doesn't get injured. We did play, I forgot to tell you, that game in the Cup there. We won 7-0. Haaland scored a hat-trick in 5 minutes. So we're setting the tone for the save. There we go. Love that, Erling. And yeah, you're bang up to date. And let's get you a new contract. Let's not get you a new contract. And okay, let's get underway for the first game of the season against Eintracht Frankfurt. Now, a bit of news for you. Bayern Munich dropped points. First game of the season. Love it. Round of applause for Borussia Mönchengladbach. Round of applause for them. Fantastic stuff. Only downside is, if they drop points now, that probably means they're going to win every game for the rest of the season. But at least we've got our victories now. We'll get our victories in now and just stick it to Bayern when we go above them in a second here. We inevitably beat Frankfurt. Tactic is the next thing to look at, the final thing to look at for the game. So this is very similar to my Forest Temple tactic that I uploaded on the channel a few weeks ago. I've just looked at them a little bit in the Champions League final they lost and tried to tweak a little bit towards that. So we tweaked it a little bit. So if you have downloaded that tactic before and you know what I'm talking about, the main differences are defensive width have changed. The defensive line isn't always that high because you've got to remember back then they had Matt Hummels and Subotic, 2 6'5" tractors at the back. So because they're pressing high, they have to be somewhat high. But you don't want to be overly high and get caught in behind because eventually I do want to make sure we've got our big centre-backs right. So we're going to put it on just higher for now and hope that that's okay. No rolling out to the back anymore. This written quickly. Weidenfeller just pings it with his big left foot. And I saw him control a back pass and it was horrendous. We won't be trusting our goalkeeper to play out too much if we can avoid it. And I forgot to select that and counter press is going to definitely be going on, obviously. So we'll put that in. So that looks pretty good to me. This is just, I like this as a starting point for our in possession. Yeah, I think we're looking good. I think we're ready to go, and we'll see how we get on. Here we go then, first game of the season. System manager says, we're favourites for a reason, good lad. Here we go then. Right, question here then. Do we watch this in 3D or 2D? I'm going to start it off in 2D with 3D highlights, because that's what we did for the Barcelona series. But do let me know in the comments what you think about that, because I'm tempted to change it. I just need to make sure that if I do play 3D permanently while I'm recording, I'll just drop the quality of the crowd a little bit, and I'll also slow it down so it looks good. But yeah, let me know. I can definitely change that. For the first one, let's go to the classic with that, and yeah, we'll go with that. We are underway. Now I'm going to look at this from our point of view as well. And I'm going to slow that right down. Hello. Hang on 1 second here. That's going to be a penalty, I think. By the way, start off here. Chandler from Friends is about to foul Musiala. And we're going to go into the box. And there it is. Told you it was coming. I could just see it at the corner of my eye there. I just wanted to make sure that we had it slightly slowed. And I also want to see our formation. So I like to just refer back to the 4-2-3-1. Just looks iconic. What are you talking about, referee? Chandler from Friends gets a yellow card. What's going on here? I think we're just going to one up. I was just... I just want to see on the replays. Watch what their defender is doing here. He stood on the line over here, so he's just playing everyone onside. So there's no chance of being offside because he stood right on there. Cheers, I think it's Musiala making him mark him and play everybody onside. That might be a bug. Michael Royce whips in the corner, St. Just, and that's going to be 2-0. There we go. Momentum is coming. Bayern Munich, we're coming for you. Like Bayern is scared. Scared for bullying the competition for so many years, for just bullying them. And what they do is whenever they get a bit under threat, that's when they go and spend big, get their team together and demolish the opposition. And they sort of let them get back into it because they want everybody to think this competitively, don't they? That's what they want everybody to think. So it's good for TV ratings, sponsorships, It's good for morale and prestige at the club. And then they just, get back out in front in the end. And yeah, that's not going to happen this time. No, Erling Haaland and the boys here are going to be ready for him. We've got a chance. Now, in fact, I need to put this on the extended. I did only put it on key because we covered so much, and that's 3-0, in transfers, because obviously we do want to look at the football and try and make sure the recreation is good as well. But I thought for the first episode we would just get through the transfers first and foremost, and I did not expect it to go this well, if I'm honest with you. 3-0. I mean, I was supposed to put on extended anyway, but I don't think we would have seen many more highlights in any case. And Royce gets it back to Renan Lodi. Lodi's going to give it to... working across, it's just moving so fast now. Basuma, Bellingham, hey Jude. Jude Bellingham to Basuma, to Musiala. Now, I just want to watch this back. It may not be onside. But what's important is that they can be wide and hold the width, but they are very incisive with their runs. So the difference between like the Pep wingers what we're looking for is our wingers to make those runs into those half spaces, make those runs where Iniesta was given the freedom to play. We're not giving our Iniesta any freedom to play. We're going to exploit those areas. So let's just go back a little bit. Let's watch what our wingers are doing, especially the left winger, because he's got the playmaker next to him, so it's up to him to make these runs more. So as this is worked across here, and it goes back. Might be onside, actually. 4-0. I mean, I don't really want us to retain the ball that much, but there was no pressure on them whatsoever, I guess. Can I make it any more direct? I mean, that's a lot of possession. But the tempo is already high on attacking mentality, and we're already on standard passing. Like, we can't really do much more than that. They definitely played for transition, so there's definitely a legitimate way to go for us. I mean, this is unreal. We did concede at like 1.3 XG in the cup game to that lower league team. So I was a little bit concerned defensively might have a problem, but cheers, Kevin, for your efforts there in goal. This is just... Do we just watch this magical football? This, like, come on, ultra pressing. Here we go, come on. Yeah, I noticed this as well. This is good. So Gundogan at times, when he's the opposite side, normally you expect the ball side central fielder to be the more aggressive one to press. The other one tucks in and plays like a diagonal line to them, like in a pair. But Gundogan sometimes would go and look to go high early away from the ball because they're looking to engage. And we just saw a bit of that there, which is good. Bellingham. I don't know what to say. It's hard to even analyse too much of this because once it goes past 2-0 in 10 minutes, no, it's offside, it loses its realism anyway because the game becomes fake. One team's already 2-0 up, you know what I mean? Like, it's not quite the same. Look at the match ratings here. So what we want these two to do is to potentially at times press as a 2 when it's going left to right, and then the 10 dropping into play just behind Lewandowski and then join the midfield. Okay, so he's a bit deep there as Royce. But as this goes across the pitch here, once it goes there, Lewandowski should go across, and then Royce is way too... I don't know what he's doing here, to be honest. Right, so we don't really want that. He would just slide across. Royce should be nowhere near that. It's because it's from a... I think it's on this set piece on this side. It's coming from before in this highlight. So then it goes across there. So they've now played it into the player that you were at. Bellingham, well done. So now he gets back there. So now Haaland should be on this man here. So they can't retain. Now Royce, now it's gone back that side. You should tuck into the centre. Yep, okay. He's gone back to the side. Okay, that's fine. And they're going to shoot. No danger whatsoever. Now what does the keeper do with it? Does the highlight continue? No, it does not. A good amount of shots on target so far. That's about all we can say at this point. Let's take off Marco Royce first and throw on Rainier because it's going to be not too long before they recall him because of his lack of playing time, which is inevitable. Erling Haaland off, Mikoko on. We get the way Kanji. Where are you going to go with it? Is Basuma. Basuma has it still. It's across to Baku. Baku. So you probably wanted to just cross that. He's worked it. Okay, well that's as long as the went in the box eventually. That's all I was caring about there. 6-0 to Borussia Dortmund. And that is going to do it. 6-0 to Borussia Dortmund, first game of the season. That was absolutely brilliant. One unbelievable first performance on the series. It's always good to check the league sorting rules before the season starts. And so, yeah, goal difference comes before results between teams. So that's important to look at. So it's goal difference, which is really good then. Very good for us, the first game of the season. So one thing that's important to note on this recreation as opposed to the one we did with Pep and Pep's recreation So I always talked about that spectrum of like you had a tactic that's completely realistic and maybe gets no results, but it's at least as realistic as what they were doing in real life. Then you've got a recreation that's maybe just really good at getting results. It suits the foot manager, but it's not necessarily a great recreation of the tactic. And anywhere in between, obviously the best thing to have is one where you can have the tactic that's the most realistic and it's the best foot manager. That's the most ideal scenario. I think with Pep, I was always happy to fall on the realism side and not take as many results. I probably could have tweaked it better to get better results early on and win the Champions League sooner. But I would have lost the realism of some of the movements we were getting in that tactic, so I didn't want to do that. Whereas this one, we might end up falling the other side where it's going to be really hard, I think, from watching that to recreate it without making... Either we drop the defensive stuff a little bit, engagement all goes a bit less, and we invite other teams onto us and try and get the possession, try and get it more transitional, because that we ended up basically pinning them back and just destroying them, which isn't necessarily what I saw from the games, in every match that they played. And with that, the tactic's going to play completely differently. The patterns in possession, because where we're going to win the ball from, it might drop in quality a lot. So we'll have to look at potential tweaks, because the way it worked right then, it looked very good as a tactic, just overall. If it wasn't a recreation, so it looked good as a tactic, as a 4-2-3-1. It defended well, it did well in possession, and it looked a lot like the movements I was looking for. There's a couple of things that we said that we'll definitely look at the right-hand side. We could transition the right wing back to maybe becoming a support duty, and then maybe looking at Musiala to sit narrower, maybe. But he did go narrow enough. We could maybe look at narrowing the width and the settings so that the wingers go slightly narrower earlier in the build-up, which would make us be more direct that way. That's probably a good idea and probably would work quite well with that. They'd go narrower, be close to the striker, get some of those like incisive runs in between the fullback and centre-back, and it might make us more direct rather than playing out to the winger, letting the wing-backs overlap, which we don't really want to do. Not too often. If we do build up possession and pin them back, then that's absolutely fine, but we don't want to see it too early and retain the ball too much, which I can see this tactic is already starting to fall into that trap a little bit. At least with Frankfurt and the game before that is what I could see. I'm nitpicking really, because that was a really good start. That was an unbelievable start, in fact. And we're going to miss 0 games. We're going to come back next episode. We're going to come up for the Bayern Munich game in the Super Cup, which will be a very interesting game. Really, but I'm saying all these things now, and these are basically things to look out for if we don't see any improvements on those things for the next few games. But really, nothing's going to change for the Bayern Munich game. Let's just see what happens in that game, because that's away from home. It's supposed to be away. It should be at neutral. Yes, away from home in the Super Cup. We're going to play against Bayern, against the other best team in the league. That we're going to be playing against the second best team in Germany, obviously, and we're going to play against them in a one-off game, and we'll see how the tactic goes against them there. That'd be very interesting to see as a yardstick of where we're at. And then play Freiburg, who apparently won their first game in a second, but away from home, which is, again, is always a good measure of a tactic. That is going to do the episode. Hope you're enjoying the start to the series. I'm really excited to see where this goes and have this team go on and develop and dominate Bayern for 3 years and win the Champions League at least once. And that's going to do it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.